Guys, welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. I'm going to have to ask you for a massive favour today before we jump into this video. Now, you might have seen my partner in crime on the channel, James. His prediction videos have been doing really well. He's been grabbing the likes. He's been grabbing the subscribers. But on one of his last thumbnails, I couldn't help but notice he's started to look a little bit like Lord Farquhar. So I am going to ask for a massive favour here because I think he's turning a bit evil. And if I don't start pulling those likes, pulling in those subs, who knows? He may even boot me from my own channel. So come on, help me out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And now let's jump straight in to the video itself. We're going to be talking about strikers, Premier League strikers and Premier League strikers that might switch clubs in January. Now let's jump straight into the first one. Of course, Mr. Origi. Obviously, he will always be a legend with Liverpool fans. You know, that victory that he got in the Champions League over Barcelona. And also recently scoring a very important goal against my club, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Well, funny enough, despite that, he's only managed 3 Prem appearances this season. But he has scored 2 goals in the 38 minutes in the Prem that he's actually had. Now, interestingly, I think a whole host of clubs are going to be linked with him. You know, Newcastle and Brighton are the early ones, but there's so many clubs that are going to need a striker this transfer window. And I think he will be a real pull. Now, interestingly as well, some reports say his contract's done at the end of the season, but I've seen elsewhere other clubs say around other websites say around 2024. I'm not sure which is right, so I'm going to go for the latter, and that's why I think the expected transfer fee would be around that £20 million mark. And like with all of these, I'm going to talk about whether this is going to be a possibility for a Prem move and then just a general move in general. Well, 75% I reckon that a chance that he does move in this transfer window. But I do have to say, I do think it'll be towards the end of the transfer window, especially with Liverpool having the African Cup of Nations. So it's one to watch out for late on. And I do think with Origi, there is a bit more of a chance as well, just only a 5% more chance that he does move away from the Prem. I don't think he's necessarily tied down to staying in the Prem. Let's move on to Brentford striker, Ivan Toney. And, you know, it's the first year in the Premiership for Brentford. And Ivan Toney's not been having a too bad a time, has he? 4 goals, 2 assists in the 15 appearances he's made. Recently had a bit of an injury that's kept him out for a couple of games. But interestingly, he did the club that he's been linked with is Arsenal so far. And he did an interview back in September where he did say that Arsenal won't win anything anytime soon. But I believe in that same interview, he did hint that they did need a striker, maybe trying to weigh up something there. He spoke about moving, to possibly a bigger club before. But this is going to be one that's really going to test Brentford's resolve, isn't it? And I do see Toney staying in the Premier League. So I've gone for a 50% chance with both the Prem and moving in general. Brentford aren't going to want to sell, but, you know, Arsenal could potentially sell a couple of strikers in this transfer window, a couple that I'll move on to very briefly. And if they bid quite high, it's really going to test Brentford, isn't it? Especially if a bid of around 30 million comes in or more. Let's move on. Eddie Nketia. Now, of course, this is a striker who scored a hat-trick in the League Cup recently against Sunderland. And it was quite a beautiful hat-trick, weren't it? You know, there was a few tricks, a few flicks as well. One of the goals was a nice flick from a cross where Pepe actually nutmegged the Sunderland defender. But when it comes to the league, similar to Origi, actually, both of them have had 38 minutes in the Premier League and only 3 appearances. I think there's going to be a whole host of clubs interested in him. The early ones so far are West Ham and Crystal Palace, that have been linked. But this is going to keep getting more and more. And the reason for that is actually he's out of contract at the end of the season. And that's why I think he'll be available for a really cut price of even around 10 million. You know, they could... If he's not going to stay at Arsenal long term, he's not been getting the minutes in, Arsenal probably want to get something for him than nothing at all. So this one I really do feel could have a chance of happening. An 85% chance, in my opinion. Let me know if you disagree. But I do think he'll stay in the Prem. So I've gone for the exact same percentage about a move in general. I think he will stay with a Premier League club. And it'll be interesting to see where he does end up, because there is going to be a whole host of people after Eddie Nketia. Another striker that's been linked with a move away, Anthony Martial. Now, recently he's been linked with a move to Seville, hasn't he? But, he's also been linked with other clubs, one of them being Newcastle United. Obviously, Newcastle, they've got money now and they really need a striker, don't they, to bring the goals in, especially with the additional injuries that they had, of course, against United. Well, it's going to be arranged to see how long-term someone like St. Maximin is out for. They really need something more going forward. And I've also mentioned Spurs, because Spurs have always needed that second striker for Harry Kane. But the thing is, with Martial, he can also play as a winger as well. I think those two positions combined would really make it a good signing for someone like Spurs. Martial has actually said he wants to leave. That has come through his agent, and Ralph Rangnick has said that he's not going anywhere. But Ralph Rangnick also mentioned the fact that, when Pogba asked about Pogba, he said Man United's too big a club for those kind of players that don't want to be here. So if you don't want to be here, move on. So I think that's maybe him trying to get a good deal for Martial. And of course, at the moment, I've said around 55% for a Premier League move, just because I think Newcastle will probably be the only ones. I don't really see Man United wanting to sell him to Spurs, who, of course, are battling them for those ideally top four, but at least the European spots. And, of course, 70% for a move in general. That's because of the links to Seville. Apparently, they've already made an approach to bring him in on loan. No loan, just a standard loan, no option to buy. But they're only willing to pay 50% of his wages. And you really imagine Man United might look for more. Let's move on to PierreEmerick Aubameyang, the 32-year-old who has actually been linked with Barcelona after, having the captaincy stripped from Arsenal, and he hasn't featured since his fallout with Arteta. I believe he didn't actually turn up to training when he should have been in. And I did see that he potentially went to get a tattoo, but I don't know if that's actually correct. But what does remain is he's fallen out with Arteta, and it looks like his time at Arsenal might be coming to an end. Of course, Aubameyang apparently on 250k a week. It feels a bit like the Mesut Ozil situation Arsenal had not too long ago, because, Ozil signed that 400k a year contract and then really started to down tools a little bit. I feel like Aubameyang has done the same. And Barcelona are a club that are linked at the moment. It would make sense, wouldn't it, Barcelona, especially when you think that, Aguero has unfortunately had to retire. Would Aubameyang cost that much? I've said around 20 million. I've got to be honest, that was using a transfermarket.com evaluation. I'm not really sure what he'd be worth at the age of 32, especially when he's not looked so prolific. In regards to a Premier move, I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I have only gone a 25% chance, because I'm not too sure where he would be suited for a Premier League move, but I wouldn't rule it out completely. And then a 60% chance. I feel if he's going to go anywhere in January, it'll probably be Barcelona. But could another Premier League club be eyeing him up on the quiet? And could he move on loan to another Premier League club to free up some wages if things don't materialise earlier on in the window? Let's talk about a younger striker now, Mason Greenwood. Recently, he was linked to Arsenal, which was a bit of an out there one. And of course, he started the season really well. 3 goals in his first 3 games. 2 of those games he was playing as a striker rather than a right winger. I actually feel Mason Greenwood is better suited to a striker position. I think he's one of the most natural finishers I've probably seen, not even just for a young person, a young player. Just in general, I think he's just got such a natural finishing ability, and long term, he belongs in that striker position. Of course, he was shoved out a bit because of Ronaldo, and since being moved out to that right wing position, he's suffered with not so much game time and only has 1 goal and 1 assist, and of course was brought off at halftime against Newcastle, so that you can see where the rumours are going to come from. I have gone for a 70% chance, but I don't think that's to go to Arsenal. I think Mason Greenwood would really suit a loan move, and I don't think United are ready to get rid of him yet. I think just like how they sent Jesse Lingard out in January, there's plenty of clubs that are going to want a striker, and potentially a loan move for Mason Greenwood build up his confidence a bit more, and also play him in that striker position. I feel if he can get that, it would possibly be a really good move for all parties involved. Let me finish off on one more. Of course, I am a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan. So this one, a bit of an out there one, but watch out potentially in the latter stages of the window. If some clubs don't get exactly what they wanted, that is Fabinho Silva. The 19-year-old moved to Wolverhampton Wanderers at the age of 18, had to lead the line when Jimenez was injured last year. But since then, minutes have really not been there. He's not even getting brought on as a substitute, and his development is surely being stalled. I reckon Wolves could look to move him out on loan in this transfer window, get him some minutes. And if things don't go to plan, I wouldn't rule out a Prem move. Now, I have gone 40% on this one because I do feel it'll be dependent on what other deals are done. And it could be one of those that it is like a last minute decision, potentially towards the end of the window if the clubs don't get what they want. And I also think it's dependent on Wolves bringing in a striker themselves, perhaps an experienced one. And move in general, I've gone 67%, and I've purposely done that just because I wanted to make it green. But I do believe that he's probably due a move and to build some experience, so maybe somewhere like Portugal where he could really build some confidence and also get to obviously go back to his national country. Guys, let me know what you think. My green screen is completely off, and that's still not helped at all. But yeah, let me know what you think. And as I said before, help me out. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we shall see you again on the next video. Goodbye.